In this video, I'm going to demonstrate how to build a small kitchenette from scratch. Now, 3D Warehouse does have cabinetry already designed and ready to go, but remember, the more models you add from 3D Warehouse, the more you're adding to the file size of your project. So by doing the kitchen cabinets yourself, you can save a lot of file size. And you can also have the opportunity to do some custom work in your kitchen. Now, our kitchenette consists of a 27-inch base cabinet with a 27-inch wall cabinet, a 36-inch sink base where the sink is going to live, as well as a cabinet up above that. And then there's another 27-inch base with a wall that goes with it. Right next to all the cabinetry is the refrigerator that I most likely will get a model from 3D Warehouse for. So in this video, we're just going to be modeling the cabinets. Now, if you want to see me demonstrate how to build a full kitchen from scratch with dishwashers and stoves and all the fancy jazz a kitchen might have, please take a peek at my 3 videos that are kitchen based from my first SketchUp series. But this video is really intended to be kind of a little bit quicker, giving you some basics on how to build cabinetry, add door and drawer faces, as well as adding the sink. So here I have my model, and if you click on it, you can see that it's a group. And you can tell because all the edge lines highlighted blue with only one click. Now remember, it's really important that you group your systems or your objects together during the modeling process, because if 2 objects touch that aren't grouped together, they stick together and it makes moving them or altering the objects really difficult. So just make sure that you're grouping things like wall systems or a piece of furniture, and in this case, when we're done, we're going to be grouping the kitchen cabinets together as a system. Now, knowing that my model is group, I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to build the base cabinets by clicking on the rectangle tool, and I'm going to zoom in a little bit, and we're going to create a face by just basically tracing where the cabinets are. So I'm going to start in the back corner and I'm going to move to this front corner and click. And it did give me a face, but as I orbit around, you can see it's kind of giving me this like kind of weird effect. And what's happening is SketchUp drew that cabinet face at the same level that it actually drew the floor face. And it has a hard time knowing which one to show. Like, do I show the floor? Do I show the cabinets? Which one? So it kind of shows both by doing this really weird effect. Now, if you push or pull it up just a little, even 1/16 of an inch, you're going to see, and let me demonstrate. I'm going to pull it up and type 1/16, enter. You'll see that that effect goes away. So if you're doing things like area rugs or trying to do other things on the floor and don't necessarily want to show that mirror effect, just push and pull it up just a little bit. Now these are cabinets and they are not 1/16 inch high, so I'm going to do Control Z to go back to my original face with the rectangle, and I'm going to pull this up to 3 feet. The typical height of kitchen countertops are 3 feet, and that does include the cabinet and the counter. Now if you're like me and you try to work in small spaces, but the walls get in the way while you're modeling, here's a little trick to do to make working in tight spaces easier in SketchUp. I'm going to come over here to the large tool set, and I'm going to show you the section plane. So it's right underneath the eyeball, and I'm going to click on it. It acts a lot like rotate. And if I hover my mouse over different sides of my model, you'll see how the little box that's attached changes not only color but direction. Now it's this wall that I'm actually really concerned about because I'm trying to work on the front of the cabinets. This could get in the way really easy. So I'm going to position my mouse on the face of this wall. I'm going to click, and this little box pulls up. Don't worry about it. This section is not being used in construction documents, so I'm just going to go ahead and click OK. So the wall turned black, and we have this section box right here, kind of indicating that it's going to be sectioning this entire building. Now if I click on it, it'll turn blue, and that indicates that I'm selecting the section box. And I'm going to use the move command, and I'm going to move it towards the model, and I've got the red extension line, and you can see how it cuts through surfaces so that you can see what's happening. So my goal is to get it just past that wall so that I still see some good amount of floor in front of the cabinets, but I'm not seeing the wall anymore. And I'm going to click. So that's great. I could go ahead and start working, but sometimes even the line work can get in the way when I'm trying to work. So I'm going to hide that section, and I do that by right-clicking and hiding. So just make sure the section box is selected first, then right-click, then hide. And you'll see that that section box goes away, but it leaves the section of the building behind. Now, if you want to find it again so that you can unhide that section box, there's one of two ways. You can simply click here where the wall is black, and you can see it, and you see it's dashed, so that indicates that it's hiding. Right-click on it and choose Unhide, and it will come back. Now I'm going to choose Hide one more time, and I'm going to come up to the View tab up here in the main menu, and I'm going to check Hidden Objects. And what it does is it will show me anything that I've got hidden in my model so that I can click on it, right-click, and choose Unhide. Now the tricky part about this part is that that is still checked up here in the menu. So if you want to get out of that hidden mode, just come back up to View and uncheck Hidden Objects, and you're out of that view. Now I don't have any other objects hidden, so it wasn't too big of a deal, but maybe you've got 3 or 4 other objects that are hidden and it would become a big deal. So just be aware that you have to kind of go back up to View and uncheck Hidden Objects. Now, Section Fill will help you get the black. If I uncheck it, you can see that it actually shows that my walls are hollow. So just know that you can kind of control that here. Alright, so I'm actually going to go ahead and hide this section box so that now I can work with my cabinets and I can zoom in and I'm not going to be in the middle of a wall. I hate that. Don't you hate that? When you're working and you're in the middle of a wall all of a sudden? Pain in the butt. Alright, so the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to detail out the base cabinets. The first 2 things we're going to do is create a toe kick and the countertop. So the toe kick is designed so that when you're standing at the cabinets, your toes have a place to go, and they are typically 4 inches high and 3 inches deep. So the easiest way to do this is to grab my tape measure tool, click and drag up. Oh, I got the wrong guide. I hate it when that happens. Try to grab it on the edge and then you get the parallel guideline. So drag it up, type 4 inches, and it will place it where I wanted it. Grab the pencil tool, draw a line across so that we're scoring the surface of that face. Push-pull, push it back, and type 3 inches. And now we have the perfect toe kick for our cabinets. Don't worry about the CAD line. In a future video we're going to get rid of those, but right now let's just concentrate on building the cabinetry. With the toe kick in place, let's turn our attention to the countertop. So a countertop is typically 1.5 inches thick. So once again I'm going to grab my measuring tape tool. On the front I'm going to drag down a guide, type 1.5, enter, and I'm going to take the pencil tool, and not only am I going to trace it on the front, but I'm also going to go back. So just make sure that you have your red extension line and go all the way back to the wall, and you placed a line there. So now you can see the countertop. Now the countertop does not align with the face of the cabinets, it actually aligns more with the face of the doors and drawers. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to drag this out about, I'm going to do 1.5 inches for right now, so 1.5, and if I feel the need to change that, I certainly can come back. So now we have a countertop placed and we have the toe kick. If you want to take this a step further and actually put the backsplash we can go ahead and do that right now. So a backsplash typically covers anywhere that the countertop is touching the wall, just in case you spill water and it gets back to the drywall. It's not going to damage the drywall. So I'm going to use my tool, bring out a guide. Those are also the same thickness as your countertop, so 1.5. I'm also going to do it on this side of the wall because water can still damage this wall. 1.5. And then I'm going to take this pencil tool and I'm going to trace those guidelines, and then I will bring this up. Typically a backsplash is about 4 inches. So there we have a countertop with a backsplash. Now if you're deciding to do a tile backsplash, that's totally fine. You would just add a material to the area that you want it to. But if you want to have the backsplash actually attached to the countertop, that's the best way to do it. Alright, so we got lots of stuff going on. I'm going to go ahead and delete the guidelines because we're going to have lots of guidelines to work with here momentarily. Now my goal is to separate the cabinets. So remember, we have a 27-inch cabinet here, we have a 36-inch sink base, and we have another 27-inch cabinet over here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab this guideline and bring it out 27 inches. And then I'm going to bring out another one, and that's going to be 36 inches. And you can see how the guidelines match up with my CAD work. All of a sudden I'm thinking that this might not be a 27-inch cabinet after all. Let's see, what size is this? Oh, it's actually a 24-inch cabinet. So just keep that in mind, because here's a little kitchen design tip. When a cabinet is 24 inches wide, it's only going to get 1 drawer and 1 door. When a cabinet is 27 inches wide or larger, they're going to get 2 doors and 2 drawers on the face. That's just a typical cabinet manufacturing knowledge that I'm bringing to you guys so that you understand how to design. You don't want a door to get too large because it puts a lot of pressure on the hinges. So at 24 to 27, they make that division that a 24 is going to get 1 door and drawer, and a 27 is going to get 2 doors and 2 drawers. Cabinets are always built on 3-inch increments, and usually they start at 9 inches. So the only size cabinets you should have are 9 inches, 12 inches, 15 inches, so on and so forth. Alright, so let's go ahead and concentrate on building the doors and drawers of this 27-inch base cabinet. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to demo this, and then I'm going to let you guys figure out how to add the same thing to the other 2 cabinets. So one of the first things that we want to do is we want to separate these cabinets. So I'm just going to draw a line where these guides are located, so that you can actually see where the cabinets are divided. So here's first cabinet, second cabinet, third cabinet. Again, I'm going to go ahead and delete the guidelines because we're going to have lots of guidelines to work with momentarily. So to add the door and drawer faces, remember that we don't need these doors and drawers to work. We're only needing to show where they're located. The first step that you have to determine is where is the middle of the cabinet. The easiest way to determine that is to just draw a line across, straight across the cabinet, and choose the measuring tape tool to drag out a guide and just mark where the center of the cabinet is. This is going to help us determine and create equal door and drawers on the face of the cabinet. The next step is to decide what style doors that you want to have. So the more modern version is where the doors cover the entire cabinet as well as the drawers, and then they have pulls on them. The more traditional wood-based cabinets tend to show the face of the actual cabinet behind the doors, so there's space in between the 2 doors and between the door and drawer and between the 2 drawers. So that's what I'm going to model just to show you, because it's the more complicated of the 2. but I'm certain that once you guys kind of see how this works, that you're going to understand what I'm talking about, and then you can maybe look at your cabinets at home to see what they're doing. So my first goal is to mark out with guidelines where the doors and drawers are going to live. Now I do want to show the face of the cabinets behind the doors, so I'm going to put a 1-inch border around the perimeter of the cabinet. So guideline, grab a guide, bring it out 1 inch. Make sure that you're actually placing those guides on the face of the cabinet, which I did. Sometimes you can pull it out and it's actually not on the face, and that gives you problems. From the bottom of the face of the cabinet, not the toe kick, the face of the cabinet, bring it up 1 inch. Bring this over 1 inch. And even from the underside of the countertop, make sure that you're grabbing where the countertop and the cabinet meet. Grab and drag down 1 inch. So the sides of my doors and drawers, as well as the tops and bottoms, are going to live within this boundary. The next step is going to be to decide where the drawer fronts are going to be and where the doors are going to be for heights. So a typical drawer front is usually somewhere between 6 inches and 8 inches tall. I'm going to stick with 6 inches. I like smaller drawer fronts. So I'm going to clone this guide, and I'm going to bring this down 6 inches. So now you're starting to see drawer fronts and doors. Now this line is probably going to start getting in our way, so I'm actually going to delete it out. And just know that this line represents where this whole cabinet is living. Now I do want to create space between my drawer fronts and my door fronts. So again, I'm going to grab a guide and I'm going to bring this down 1 inch. This is going to come out 0.5 inches from the center, because I'm also going to do the same thing on this side, so that I create a 1 inch in between. So I use that center mark to help me determine where everything's going to be at. So now you can see where the drawer front lives. You can see where the door fronts live. And all we have to do is take our trusty pencil tool and trace where those guys actually are going to be built. So I'm not using the center one, that was just a guide more than anything. There we go. And the final door right here. There we go. So now you can see doors and drawers, but they always have a thickness. So make sure that you're using your push-pull tool. And I'm going to pull this out 1 inch, 1 inch, 1 inch, and 1 inch. And the idea, let me kind of put it from the side, is that the countertop just barely overlaps where the drawer and door fronts are, so that if you spill water, it's less likely to dribble down the side of the cabinets. Now I can take this one step further, because these are great doors and drawers, but they're pretty plain and simple. You can always take this to be more fancy. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to design like a panel that sits back from the front of the doors, and it's going to have a little arch at the top. So that's kind of more of a traditional wood look cabinet. I'm going to first measure out where all the stiles and rails. So a stile is the vertical piece that frames the door. A rail is the horizontal piece that frames the door. Measuring tape tool. And from the front of the door, I'm going to drag this over 1.5 inches. That's a typical size thickness of a stile. Same thing on the other side. Same thing on top of the door. Drag it down 1.5. Very similar to how we did the cabinets. Oh, got in the middle of a wall there. Silly thing. and then up 1.5 from the bottom. Now, like I said, I want an arch up here. So I'm actually going to drag this down, and I'm also going to do 1.5 inches. And this time I'm going to take the arch or the arc tool, and I'm going to start it, end it, height it. Height as in height, vertical. Give it some height. And then I use the pencil tool to trace the rest of the cabinet. So now you can start seeing that we're getting really detailed, and I can actually push this back 0.5 inches to give it that paneled look. So let's repeat that with this other door. Measuring tape, bring it out 1.5 for the left style, 1.5 for the right style. And hey, my horizontal ones are already done for me, so that's awesome. So let's go ahead and add that arch. And then fill in the rest of that shape with your pencil tool. It goes from bold to light. That indicates that you've actually cut the surface. And push it in 0.5 inches. Excellent. Now it's up to you if you want to repeat the same pattern up on the drawers as you did the doors. There's lots of different ways to style a kitchen. So I'm going to go ahead and do that just to demonstrate. So I have my vertical styles. Let's do the rails up here. So 1.5, bring it up 1.5. And I'm actually going to go ahead and do some arches on these, and I'm just going to drag it down 1.5 again. So it's going to be kind of tight, but this is how it's done, everybody. So arch first. Make sure that you're really thinking about which guides you're using to help you create things, and then fill in the rest of the shape. Push it in 0.5 and repeat. Arc, start, and height it. Then pencil tool, trace it, push it in 0.5 inches. La! Oh, look at those beautiful cabinets. Now if you wanted to add pulls, you can. The reason why there's space in between the doors and drawers is so that you can get your finger in there and open it without a pull or any hardware on the front. So I'm just going to leave it at that. I'm also going to leave the guides because they're already set up for me to go ahead and add them to the rest of the cabinets. And that's what I'm going to challenge you guys with. I'm not going to continue drawing them, but remember that the steps are to find the center of your cabinet first, and then map out where the doors and drawers live, pull them out, and then style them as you need to. So with the magic of video editing, I'm going to go ahead and show you what my final base cabinets are looking like. La! Oh, those cabinets are looking good. I decided to go ahead and make the 24-inch base a drawer cabinet. So remember that because it's 24 inches, it only gets one across the whole thing instead of two like the 27-inch cabinet. And then I just gave it some big extra drawers. So again, customizing your cabinets, that's why I like doing this method. It just makes everything look so pretty. Alright, so the next step is going to be to add the wall cabinets. The standard distance from the top of the countertop to the bottom of the wall cabinets is indeed 18 inches. So we're going to map out where the wall cabinets are going to live first, and then we'll start detailing them out. So knowing that, what I'm going to do, I know that this was 4 inches, right? So 18 minus 4 is 14 inches. So I'm going to grab the measuring tape tool, and from the back of that backsplash, I'm going to drag up a guideline 14 inches. And that's where the bottom of my wall cabinets are going to live. Now there's a few different heights for, let me get my SketchUp behaving. There we go. There's a few different heights of wall cabinets. The standard is 30 inches, so that's what I'm going to go ahead and do. So clone this guide, 30 inches, and this is where they are going to live. I'm also going to make sure that I have a guideline to indicate where the cabinets are going to stop. So I'm just going to grab and then push it back, and then I will know that the cabinets are going to align with the base cabinets. Now it's standard for wall cabinets to match the same width as the cabinet below it in the base cabinet. So remember, we have a 27 inch, a 36 inch, and then a 24. So once again, I'm going to do that. I'm going to bring out a guide, 27 and 36. And now I know where each of these cabinets are going to be. I'm going to use the rectangle tool, and I'm just going to build all of them out at the same time. So I'm placing a rectangle on that wall, and I'm going to pull it out. The standard depth is 12 inches. So 12, enter. And then I can kind of play with where the fronts are. So once again, 27 and 36. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to separate all of these with lines. So I'm going to draw from here to here and down the front. And don't forget to go underneath the cabinet. I'll start at the bottom and work my way up the other direction. So that's the fun part about SketchUp, is you get to work from all different kinds of sides. Alright. Oh, I forgot to get that drawn there. So just make sure you got 2 lines on top, 2 lines on the front, and 2 lines on the side. Now usually when you have a sink, you don't have a full-size cabinet. So if you are going to have a cabinet above, you actually want it to be a half-height cabinet. So these cabinets can be a height of anywhere from 12 to 18 inches. So I'm actually going to do a 15-inch height cabinet here in the center. So measuring tape tool, grab this down 15 inches. And I'm going to mark this. And there's one of 2 ways that I can do this. I can either push this back into the wall, or I can lift this up from the bottom. And I think that's what I'm going to do. Push-pull tool from the bottom, lift it up to that line, and you kind of feel it snap. And you're good to go. So again, the reason why we have half heights above sinks is so that you don't accidentally hit your head on a cabinet. We kind of like to have it open in this general area so that you can do more tasks. So there I've got my cabinets all mapped out, and it's really the same process as before. I'll do this cabinet and I'll let you guys finish the rest of these cabinets. So first I want to find the center. I'm going to use the pencil tool, and I'm just randomly drawing across the cabinet so that I can then bring out a guide to show where the middle is. I don't need that line anymore, so I'm going to erase it. And now I'm going to put the 1-inch perimeter around the edges of this cabinet. So measuring tape, drag out 1 inch, bring up 1 inch, bring it over 1 inch, and bring it down 1 inch. I do want to have the same space separating the doors that I did below, so I'm going to bring this one over 0.5 inches. And same thing on the other side, got to make it even, 0.5 inches. And now I can see where my doors are going to live. Now I do want to have an arch as well up here, but first things first, I am going to go ahead and pull out those doors. So just make sure you're going to the correct guidelines. And here we go. Remember that the center one was just to help me keep the doors even on both sides, push-pull tool, pull it out 1 inches and 1 inches again, and there's the doors. Now I gotta stylize it, so here comes the left style, so 1.5, always keeping things consistent. That's what makes it look professional. From the top, 1.5, and because I want that arch, I'm going to add another 1.5 below that one, and from the bottom up, 1.5. Enter. So I always place my arch first. That's just my little quirk, and then follow it with the pencil to complete the rest of the shape, and then I can push it in. 0.5. Beautiful. Repeat. Whoop. Gotta get my guides up first on this one though. I forgot the styles. 1.5. And just to make sure I grab from the right place, 1.5. Arch at the top, and followed by the pencil to complete that shape. Use the push-pull to push it in 0.5 inches. And we have completed our first wall cabinet. So basically you guys are going to go ahead and do the same thing, and through the magic of video editing you're going to see my finished product. La. Oh yes, that's so beautiful. So I've got the 2 doors to match the 2 doors on this cabinet. 2 doors, and again 24 inches only gets 1 door, and that's why there's big drawers on the bottom. So we are almost done. The last step is to cut out a hole so that you could put a sink into it. So remember that this is a 36-inch cabinet. So what I want to do is I do want to mark where on top the cabinet actually is. So measuring tape tool from the side, this is 24 inches. And one more time, oh, I always do that. Hate that one. Grab it this way and do 36 inches. And that way I at least know where the cabinet is below so that I can effectively cut my sink. Now this is going to be a little different, and what we're going to do is we are just going to cut a basic hole, and then you can size it to whatever sink that you find. So I'm just going to mark where the hole is going to go, and I'm going to come out, I'll just do 5 inches. So 5 inches from the side, 5 inches from this side. And we came out 1.5, so let's do 3 inches this way, and we'll do 3 inches this way. So now I can mark where my hole is going to be, and I'm going to take my handy dandy little pencil tool, and I'm going to push this down so that I'm creating a hole for the sink. Now if I don't do this and I try to put a sink in without creating a hole, then you're going to see the countertop in the basin of the sink. So this is at least allowing you some playroom. Now once you find a sink from 3D Warehouse, what you'll do is you'll place it in here, and then you can create a custom hole by simply pushing and pulling the sides so that it actually installs and you can't see the hole. So this is where you can customize the countertop around your sink a little. So just know that all you need to do is cut a hole, place your sink where you want it to go, and then just adjust. So you could hide the sink and then you could adjust as you go. I hope that all makes sense for you guys, and that's how you do a basic kitchenette and how you cut a hole for your sink. Oh, I almost forgot one more thing. You guys almost got away without grouping your kitchen, but it is super important to go ahead and group your kitchen system so that it doesn't accidentally stick to any accessory that you might place on the counters. So first things first, I'm going to get rid of these guidelines. So edit, delete guides, and they disappeared. And the next step is going to be that I'm going to select the kitchen. Now I'm going to go ahead and use a left to right, up to down selection box, and by using that particular kind of box, anything inside the box is going to highlight. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. So I did get my cabinets, but I am also going to go back and just make sure that I didn't accidentally highlight anything else. When I've done this in the past, things like this door could accidentally highlight along with my cabinets. So if that ever happens, so for instance if it looks like this, just make sure that you hit the shift and click on that door to deselect it, and just make sure that the only things selected are your cabinetry. So once you got your cabinetry all selected, just right click and make a group, and then you'll see that the whole thing highlights, all the edge lines are highlighted, and you also have this little box that comes out to indicate that it is now a group. So if you need to edit this group, just right click and edit the group, and then you can come back here and you can add materials, you can change the style of the cabinets, you can do anything that you need to. Simply click off to exit the group, and then you can see how these are now separated. So again, keep all your systems grouped together, be it a furniture or a kitchen or the cabinets or the wall systems. And that, ladies and gentlemen, and frogs, dogs, and logs, is how you create a kitchenette.